Good evening, Razorback fans. Welcome to the Hog Talk podcast, live from the Sterling Stove and Roastery Studios, part of the Believe in Buzz Radio Network, where you can hear us on 106.7 in Central Arkansas. All live shows are presented to you by Arkansas Brewing Company in downtown Ozark. I am Porter Hayes, and alongside me, as always, is Adam Holm. We're also brought to you by Bet Online, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. You think you know your stuff? Get on the $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game's over, head on over to the online casino, get on the game of blackjack, poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today. Don't forget to use the promo code BLEAV to get on the action. Bet online. The game starts here.
Yamaliaba. This is going to be the last play of the game. Scrambles and is shoved out of bounds. No time left. Arkansas pulls the upset.
And Adam would have seen last night that, again, the words from Chuck Barrett, they're not going to keep him off the field tonight. I mean, how fitting that was 2021 when he said that against Texas, but to have it happen against a top 5 team, to have it happen against a team where everybody outside, probably inside the locker room, didn't give Arkansas a chance to win this game coming off the performance they had against Texas A&M. Again, like I said this morning, when everybody got to this one's for the Razorback fans. This is for Razorback Nation. This is for Sam Pittman, T. Will, which we'll get into later in the show. But Adam, what a win last night.
I was waiting for it to not happen. You know, it's one of those that you hate to be in that mindset, but you're just waiting for something to go wrong. And it didn't for Arkansas. I know right there at the end, there was a lot of the talk back and forth on did Tennessee, let them score, which I think was pretty obvious. They pulled up, they let Malachi run in. Not to say that we wouldn't have scored anyway, just would have taken some more time off the clock. But, sitting there and seeing the fans start to line up and get ready to rush the field, they showed it on camera. You're waiting for it to happen. And you're just like, please let this happen. I was still in disbelief. I mean, at the end of the game or towards the end of the game, I had graphics made for a win and for a loss. I mean, it was just one of those that I had them both ready to post. You never know, but they pulled it out in I think this is the first top 5 win since 2007.
Yep. You did, and you texted me after that. You just had said, at least we won the first half. Moral victories count. I mean, but that's the mindset. This is not a text that or point anything out. Like you said it perfectly. You're just waiting for the wheels to fall off. Everybody is waiting for the wheels to fall off. Up 3-0 on Tennessee at the half. It goes 14 unanswered points, and then the fact that they come back, and even with a backup quarterback, Singleton, to do what he did. I don't care if they let him score. The fact that he come in, took command of this team, and we said that depth, get him in the bullpen just in case. That's what you need. I'm not sure that you would have got this from a KJ slash, oh God, the name is even as we're the guy that went to Texas State. Malik Hornsby. No, I mean, you wouldn't know that if this was this kind of setting, would they have pulled it off? But they got the win, and they tried. And I've got right here a Hillbilly Lager from Arkansas Brewing Company, cold beer. I think this is one of those games where you open up a cold beer for old Sam Pittman, because
I'll have my Coke Zero.
We got to call a spade, Adam. As much shit as we've given Sam Pittman and this team and the players and telling them to bounce back, they did. They were down. The wheels could have fallen off when it was 14-3. And for them to come back, keep making a game. I know right now we're getting some comments about Taylon Green injury. We haven't heard anything. And I'm telling you right now, with how everything's going with this SEC reporting and stuff. They haven't had time. Look, we don't know anything, and I guarantee you they're not going to disclose until sometime tomorrow when he speaks with the media. But it's the fact that they won this game. And we come into the season about Tennessee, Texas, how well they play against this, how well that play in these night games. You have a bye week coming up and LSU coming in at night. This bodes well because you get a perfect opportunity to rest. Let this celebration, you're not getting off this high. Look at Alabama coming off that win against Georgia. And then you go up against a salty Vanderbilt team. It was one of the craziest days. This is something you see in November. And we seen this in October. And luckily, the football gods was shining down on Arkansas last night to pull out this win. But it was very impressive.
You know, the post or a page I saw earlier on TikTok, it was a college football page. But they pointed out 2007 and just going back and thinking about how crazy of a year that was. I mean, if we look at like what Arkansas just did, one of your Heisman front runners is a Boise State player. It's just starting to be all these different things happening. And I texted my group text to the guys yesterday about, I don't know, middle of the day, middle of the afternoon. And I'm just like, college football has been weird this season. Not just yesterday, but the season as a whole. And we haven't even gotten to the new, 12-team playoff.
We'll get to that in a second. Yeah.
But, it's one of those things with Talon. We don't know what's going on yet. I know earlier talk is a MCL sprain. We'll see when the coaches actually meet with the media and whatnot tomorrow. I think you look at this, though, as you got 2 weeks to prepare Malachi. You got whether that you're going to rest Talon to prepare to get healthy or whatever. I think you have to use these 2 weeks and don't screw around in your practice. Like, let the media play coy with the media all you want. Dangle right there. Oh, we're not sure. But when you're in practice, make sure Malachi knows one way or another for the next 2 weeks. Like, hey, we're saying this, but you're going next week or you're in 2 weeks. Don't dangle it out in front of them with the little glimmer of whatever that Talon Green may or may not be back. I don't think you rush him back.
No. I mean, look, you're going, it's a night game. You look at what Malachi Singleton was able to do from a mental standpoint, come in, go down the field, and 2 for 3, 31 yards passing, and even had 4 carries for 16 yards. You couldn't ask for, that's what we've been missing. I think we said this a couple of weeks ago. That's what we've been missing with this backup situation. You have somebody come down and you think, oh God, our whole season's out. Here we go again. You have somebody that comes in and puts this team on his back, and you have his teammates celebrate around with him. You have the fans storm the field. Look, Dixon Street was on fire last night. This is the win that will go down for ages because, look, it wasn't a sugar-coated win off of a mediocre Texas team, which is your last 2 wins. If you look at the Texas win that got Brett Bielema the contract extension, you got the 2021 win. You got the win against Penn State that was the bowl game. This was a legitimate, I'm sorry not to take anything away from those wins because you still went out there and won the game. But this was a legitimate ones-on-ones win against a top 5 program, and you pulled it out. That just shows you that this fan base believes in these Hogs, and they needed to see that. But we needed to see the results. We needed to see this win. And I think that this cured a lot of things because we're talking about $500,000, and you're having to deflect your marketing to bring back the slobbering hog because of what we said last week on Monday's show or Sunday's show about slobbering hog because of what's going on with the ROI with the football team. You've given everybody a reason to believe again. I mean, this team is sitting at 4-2, 2-1 in the conference. I think I had them sitting here at this point throughout. I know the games got mixed up on what I missed on the prediction, but I think at this point in the season, I was at 4-2 or 4-1. Go ahead.
Oh, we know. I keep receipts on everything. So
Yeah.
let's see.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know where I was at this point
No,
in the season.
you were actually at 4-2. You had the
4-2.
loss at Auburn and a loss with Tennessee,
Mhm.
but you had the wins at Oklahoma State and Texas A&M. So yeah,
Yeah.
but you're still at the 4-2 mark.
Exactly. You had belief in this team. And look, this is what you said it perfectly. And I know we're going way out, getting far ahead of ourselves, but we've seen what this team can do. But we also seen what Texas A&M can do. Look what they did yesterday against Missouri. That shows you just how good this Arkansas team can be. Yeah, they didn't win the game, but you can't sit there, man. We could be sitting here 6-0 right now. You could very well be.
Mhm.
But you won last night. How much is that win going to propel you? We've seen so many seasons of these losses, and then it just goes downhill from there. This win could change all of that. Next weekend, they get a bye week. Next weekend, LSU comes to town. They're not as talented as A&M. They're not as talented as Tennessee. And you always have their number. Whether they win or lose, you play them just like you play Texas because it's considered a rivalry. You got 2 weeks, and you give T. Will 2 weeks. He had 4 days to prepare for this Tennessee game. 4 days. I don't know. We'll talk. We're going to start second segment off with T. Will. We're going to do a whole segment on this guy, but man, everybody's riding high, and y'all deserve it. I've said this ever since I've been on this podcast. I am not a true diehard Razorback fan. Y'all know where my loyalty is, and every time this happens for you Razorback fans, this is for y'all. Adam, everybody that is Razorback Nation through and through, you deserve times like this because y'all been through the thick and thin.
You know, looking at yesterday when Malachi came in, I think one of the things that did worry me a little bit, and again, I'm not trying to like backtrack, talk crap, whatever. Malachi looked jittery at times, especially early on. But there was a comment in here that Petrino called the right plays to get him settled down, and that's what he's going to need, especially in. Luckily it was at home. I'll give it that. We don't know what it would have been like on the road.
Oh yeah, and Rocky Top, yeah.
It's one of those things, but he did what he needed to do. It was good to see because I think that too often in the past, and yes, I'm going to go back to Malik Hornsby. I'm going to go back even to Jacoby Criswell. They just didn't seem to have whatever it was at that moment to even game manage. It was one of those that I think one of the only shining moments that I really remember from Criswell was when you're playing cleanup duty when we're down to Auburn. And it was refreshing to see because I was even sitting there watching, the bad snaps. You've got to work on that the next 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
You got to understand that this is a 6'1" quarterback versus 6'6" quarterback. And every single time it was in that same spot. It was high right. So it's one of those, they'll work on that. But this is why, we talk about the reps and everything with the ones. This is why you need to, even before an injury happens, have your backup quarterback repping with the ones for things like this, especially when there's a 5-inch height differential.
Yeah.
You've got to get these guys
even doing it above where Taylor Green's had to jump up. And you think about his cramps. I can't remember exactly which game it was. I want to say it was Oklahoma State game where him and Jackson were cramping up because he's having to jump. You think standing in place and jumping up 20, 30 times. I mean, your calves and plus running and everything in the heat. I mean, you're going to cramp up. But for him to go out and to come in, I mean, this team's just, they believe, and they probably listen to the naysayers, and we were some of them. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and come into the show like, oh, we believed all along. I thought they were going to lose the game. But we also said they need to prove us wrong, and they proved us wrong. I'll eat crow. I mean, last night was electric. It was the game that you wanted 2021 to be, but it was against, I mean, now you look at the schedule that they got coming up. I mean, you beat a team like Tennessee, it just changes your whole outlook on this season if you keep building on these wins. You got LSU, the Mississippi State. I'm telling you, Adam, you're 4-2 right now. You could be going into Ole Miss 6-2, not going into Ole Miss, going to the Ole Miss game So just think, if you're 7-2, you've got Texas coming in. You've already beaten a top 5 team in Tennessee. What's Texas going to be? Then you got La Tech and then Missouri in Columbia. Everybody talking about this 6-0. We should be here. We should be there. Look, we've got a 12-team playoff now. Arkansas reels off, and somehow, by the grace of God, I mean, we're talking about best case scenario. You take this win. You've got your next, let's see, 1, 2. You've only got 2 more road games left this season. We've talked about all season how your first out of 5 games were away. Counting Little Rock, counting Texas. You've only got 2 more road games left. That's at Starkville and that's at Como. This is the perfect concoction, the perfect ingredients for them reeling off some more wins.
Yeah, looking at the schedule, I mean, before the season, we all looked at it like, I mean, there's always the gauntlet that we get in the middle of the season, early on the season. But, I know we were really hard on the fact that you're away for so many weeks to start the season. But hindsight, now that we are at this halfway point in the season, is we're now at home more to finish the season. So it's one of those, especially you're riding high, you've come out of this at 4-2, the ball's in your court in a sense, how your season's going to finish. Texas, that's a game I don't know. Even Arkansas, I can say I can't get behind it, but we just saw Vanderbilt knock off Alabama. So, it's one of those. I know there was a few posts yesterday leading up to the game around various groups and whatnot. And, there were some just talking about like the craziness of who's beat who so far, and Arkansas could do it. And I'm just sitting here like, why are we doing this to ourselves? And,
and I get that. I get that.
And I even was sitting there like going into halftime, and then Tennessee coming out and scoring 14. I was just like, here we are again, that we scored first, and then we've done nothing afterwards. And, I know this missed field goal and going for it on 4th and 1s that we came up short on, or 4th and whatever. But it's one of those that I was just like, here we go again, in the sense that we start off hot, even though we only got a field goal out of it, and couldn't get any points on the board afterwards.
Yeah.
And so, that's why it was just kind of like, this is happening again. And knowing that Tennessee has a high-powered offense, but we started questioning that against Oklahoma. Here they are rattling off 55, 60, 65-point wins, and they went to OU, and it was like kind of like going back to the Ole Miss thing. You play these cupcake teams, and then you get into your SEC schedule, and you get smacked in the mouth. And we've seen that on for multiple teams so far.
Adam, I think we're seeing a shift in college football altogether. We've seen it in college basketball, and I think I mentioned this last year. Of it's quicker turnaround with basketball because you have fewer players that can come in and make a difference. You get somebody come in with NIL or a transfer portal, all it takes is 2 guys, and now you're a contender for your conference or a national championship. I think we're seeing a shift overall, because look what Vandy did. But then you look at Kentucky, 13-12 against Georgia, and then they just get routed by South Carolina. Well, then South Carolina turns around and just lays in against Ole Miss. Look what Texas A&M done, and what everybody thought Missouri was. And we're talking about this 6-0, but I want to throw this out there. Would Arkansas have won that game if A&M had their quarterback? And we're going to do the what if game, because the Missouri got torched yesterday. Would Connor do a better job? Because we're talking about how he was in this pocket passer. He ran.
We played against him last year. I mean, I know he beat us last year.
Yeah.
I think they would have been a little more prepared for him, just because we've seen it before.
Yeah.
We didn't really know what we were seeing with the other quarterback for Texas A&M, Marcel Reed, or whatever his name is.
Reed. But you got to throw that out there, though,
Yeah.
because I mean, the way they played against Missouri, I'm not saying they would have still beat Arkansas. I'm just looking at what I seen from them, how their defense looked, how they just shut down, just like what Arkansas did to Tennessee. I think it still would be a wash, but you still got to throw it out there as a possibility because they look like a totally different team with Connor. Even in a win last week against Arkansas, how they did against Missouri, they look like a totally different team.
Mm-hmm.
But Arkansas did too. But that's what's dangerous about Arkansas. LSU's going to come into this game off of, they got to play Ole Miss. So, Arkansas gets a bye. Perfect time for Arkansas to have a bye. LSU, I don't know. LSU, they were lucky they didn't play yesterday because of all the upsets that was going on. But I'm telling you, they're going to come into Fayetteville with a different attitude than they would have if this is coming off the Texas A&M game.
I think that this season, the rest of this season, whatever opponent we've got out there, if this team can find more of an offensive identity, it'll be scary.
Mm-hmm.
For the simple fact that the defense has done what they have done and kept Arkansas close within striking distance week in and week out. If the offense could just find whatever works for them with what they have. It's one of those things yesterday. I mean, I was nitpicking Taylon Green several times. A lot. I mean, the fourth and some of it, I was nitpicking Petrino's play calling as well. It's 4th and 1. You've got two beasts of running backs. You've got a 6'6" quarterback, and we're running an RPO or a little route, whatever it is. And I'm just like, why are we not just pounding the ball? And then there was a couple times.
A lot of it was because of the depth, the game plan. They had a lot of depth at the defensive tackle. They had a lot of depth on the defense. But when you bring that up, 2 sacks. Tennessee only had 2 sacks on a defensive line that was, this is the deep. Everybody was just glazing over how deep this Tennessee defense was. But I think a lot of that happens. You see like Ohio State, you see like Tennessee's. It happened to Arkansas. After that 70-0 win over UAPB, they're like, oh my God, and I did the same thing. This is a high-powered offense, but I've seen the talent we had, and I've seen what we were doing compared, and you're always bringing up past years. This is the perfect year where if Arkansas wanted to do something special, because it's proven Georgia can be beat, Alabama can be beat, Ole Miss can be beat, Missouri can be beat. Any team in this conference, you don't have a clear 15-0 team going into the college football playoff in the SEC. You don't have a clear team anymore. And that's different. That's weird. To me, even saying that, it is weird even saying, what's the dominant team in the SEC right now?
I mean, do you look at Texas as not being that dominant team?
But we hadn't seen other than Michigan, but what's Michigan? Is Michigan a legit?
No.
But you look at their schedule. I mean, I'll just pull them up right now because that's a team that, again, they probably are. But you kind of forget, you almost forget about them even being in the conference.
I know that's still tough because they've got Red River coming up this weekend.
And that's going to be a big deal. That's going to be a huge game. But let me just pull up their schedule real quick and we'll go through. So they beat Michigan 31-12, and then they played Mississippi State. They beat them 35-13. So really, I mean, look, you've played other than the Michigan and Mississippi State. You've played Colorado State, Texas San Antonio, and ULM. What did they say coming in when they were talking about the pros of Arkansas pulling this game on against Tennessee? What was the one thing they said? This is the toughest test that Tennessee has had all year. So look at Texas. They got to play Oklahoma, and I'll tell you what, they'll probably win that game. I mean, Oklahoma's ranked, but I mean, they are kind of like a Missouri. They're skating by. They're still legit in the same way, if that makes any sense. October 19th, they play Georgia. Then they go to Vanderbilt. They play Florida and then Arkansas. week by that time, you could see, and again, I see Texas is undefeated, but what was Tennessee coming into this game? Texas hasn't played anybody. A lot of this, it was funny, like the Big Ten and the SECs coming together, making sure that each conference has 4 guaranteed slots in this the 12. Why would you need to do that? If you're the legit conference, why do you need to form a survivor or big brother type alliance with the Big Ten if you're that dominant? We're seeing right now why. College football's changing. They're trying to get ahead of the curve. They're trying to guarantee that no matter what, 4 teams are going to get in.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't be the case, because the way Vandy pushed around Alabama.
I don't know who that number 13 is on Alabama, but I've never seen a play. Well, I'm sure I have seen a player throw tantrums on the field like he was at the end of that.
Exactly.
I mean, I just couldn't believe. But we're looking at too. I know that there was in years past. It's always been this like other conferences making fun of like SEC fans as a whole, hyping up their conference, talking about their conference, and I get it. You're looking at. I'm trying to think. They're trying to basically say that the teams on the lower end of the conference are just hanging on the upper echelon of the conference, and and maybe there was some of that going on. But I look at it also like, especially with the 12-team playoff, it's one of those things that now I look at it like bragging rights. It's which conference can put in just like right now, it's which conference can put in the most teams in the top 25. Before it was, can we get 2 teams into the 4-team playoff? Now it's going to be, can we get 6 teams into the 12-team playoff, or however many it is. And it's one of those that the bottom of the SEC is still trash. I'll give it that. But you're seeing a shift, and I'm looking at Vanderbilt right now, and I'm even looking at Arkansas from past season. It's one of those things that you're now moving up the board a little bit, while at the same time you've got Auburn and South Carolina and Florida dropping down the list a little bit.
Well, you're doing the whole thing, the 4-team guarantee, because you're still like, let's just, I want to throw Arkansas and Vanderbilt in there just for namesake. Not saying this is going to happen, just namesake. You got 2 teams that come out from nowhere and start winning, and now they're considered for the 12-team playoff. They're doing that to protect the brand. You still are trying to do anything else you can to keep your Georgias, your Alabamas, and Ole Misses, your Floridas, or the big name teams, 2 of them in the 12-team playoff. Because I'm just telling you, from a ESPN business side, if you had Arkansas, Vandy, let's throw South Carolina in there and Texas A&M. Let's just say those were the 4 representatives from the conference. It wouldn't have the draw that Alabama, Georgia, Texas, OU would have. Now you're probably, so now with the addition of OU and Texas, you used to think that you could automatically get 2 in this 4-team playoff. Now you're trying to guarantee that you get 4 because you have the resurgence of Vandy. I'm crazy that's even being said.
Well, it's funny too, is because like early in the season, you've texted me on multiple occasions, is Vandy back? And I know before it was kind of like a joke, but then now it's just like, if Vanderbilt didn't sign Clark Lee to a lifetime contract after last night, I don't know what they're doing, because he is a Vanderbilt guy through and through. But, that's what I just expect. Like, you see it, and I'm just like, that guy is going to be there for the rest of his life.
The way they pushed him around, this was not a fluke game. The way they were able to, because you know how those underdog things, as long as you're staying on top, you don't let the team come back and catch up with you. But man, they were just pushing them around. And when it come to crunch time, you got that first down. Like, when they started coming back, I want to say they pulled it within 7 or 10 or something like that. We're like, here we go. All right, now Alabama's going to shake it back, get it together. But then you look at the score and like, oh crap, they won, and you're watching it. But it's one of those things that I love it. I want this to be the new college football, because yesterday was chaos. Yesterday was amazing. And the cherry on top was the fact that Arkansas got to be irrelevant in football, instead of Cal, instead of the slobbering hog, instead of what they're going to do in basketball season. For the people who were like, here we go again, and rightfully so. This is not a knock on the fans whatsoever, but they were like, here we go. Let's just go ahead and get ready for basketball season coming up in a month. You gave them a right to believe, and now they can turn things around. And it all leads back to what we said with T. Will, what he has done, shutting down 2 of the top running backs in the country, what he did against Tennessee. If this man isn't the front runner for the Royals Award, I don't know. He's proved it. Now they got to keep winning. They got to keep building on this. But in this moment right now, put that guy in Little Rock.
And for this, our goalposts are safely in storage because they can't be torn down. They lower so that fans can't do that. Now, I think Vanderbilt's ended up in the river.
They took it all 40. And look, I know we're going to joke on this just for a second, but I seen the video of them. All 100 of them were carrying this thing down the river. So, but you know what? They deserved it just as much as if not more, the Razorback fans. I mean, that's just one of them things. But what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. After the break, we're going to start the campaign. We've talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Jackson Collier's on the board now. I've even got David Basil. You know, let's start the official campaign right now. T. Will, Broyles Award winner, 2024. We'll talk about it after the break. Searching for premium brewery products that will take your daily routine to the next level? Look no further than Sterling Soap Company. Our handmade soaps, aftershaves, and balms are made with only the finest ingredients that give you the ultimate grooming experience. With a variety of scents to choose from, there's something for everyone. Plus, our products are crafted in small batches to ensure the highest level of quality. So why wait? Visit www.sterlingsoap.com or visit our retail store at 16 West Walnut Street in Paris, Arkansas. Shop our collection and discover the difference for yourself. Upgrade your grooming routine with Sterling Soap Company. Are you looking for a place to grab a cold drink and some delicious food? Look no further than Arkansas Brewing Company. Located at 201 South 1st Street in beautiful downtown Ozark, our establishment offers a wide selection of craft beers and tasty eats. But what sets us apart is our welcoming atmosphere and friendly staff. At Arkansas Brewing Company, you'll always feel like part of the family. So visit Destiny and Christopher Brockett and staff today and see for yourself what makes us the go-to spot for locals and visitors alike. Arkansas Brewing Company, come for the drinks and stay for the friends. Attention DIYers and home improvement enthusiasts. Are you searching for the right tools and supplies to tackle your next project? Look no further than Mentor's Hardware Store. With locations in Ozark, Alma, and Clarksville, our vast selection of hardware and building materials is sure to have everything you need. Whether you're fixing a leaky faucet or building a new deck, plus our knowledgeable staff is always on hand to offer expert advice and guidance. And with our competitive prices and convenient online ordering, Mentor's Hardware Store is your one-stop shop for all your DIY needs. Visit us today and let's build something amazing together. Are you looking to take your career to the next level? Look no further than ATU Ozark Campus. As a 2-year satellite campus of Arkansas Tech University, we're dedicated to a quality workforce education, industry partnerships for in-demand jobs, and tailored paths for success. Our programs are led by industry professionals. Whether it's a certificate or you're aiming for a graduate degree, ATU Ozark has you covered. Visit our website at www.atu.edu/Ozark or contact us at 479-667-2117. Your future begins here. Welcome to Ozark Area Chamber of Commerce, where our mission is simple: encourage, promote, and aid an enduring environment of shared economic opportunity and civic development for the Ozark, Arkansas area. Whether you're a local business owner or a resident, we've got something for you. Shop our unique local businesses, explore the beauty of Ozark, and savor local flavors and find cozy accommodations. Join us in building a stronger community. And to learn more, contact us at 479-667-2525. Remember, together we thrive. And welcome back to the Hog Talk podcast. That video right there with T. Will and Sam Pittman. And we said before the break, we're starting the campaign. I mean, look what he's done. And this is more so to me on what he's done for the players. You talk about buying in, you talk about believing, you talk about you look at those losses against Oklahoma State, you look at the losses against Texas A&M, and you bounce back, number 4 team in the country, and you do what you did against them on defense. I mean, it is incredible what this man has done. And the fact that you have the team around him, the coach around him. You only gave up 156 yards passing to this team. Granted, you gave up a lot of rushing yards. You gave up 176 yards rushing, but you gave up 14 points to the number 4 team in the country. Adam, this was not a 45-40 shootout. This was not a 38-31 win. This was a 19-14 grinded out win. And that right there speaks volumes to what this defense did against Tennessee.
Yeah, look through like Richard Davenport's tweet, that we put out this morning. 566 total offense, ranked 3rd nationally. They got, let's see, 332 last night. Yeah. And then Nico, I'm still not going to try to pronounce his last name, hitting almost 70% of his passes. And last night he was at 57. He looked uncomfortable. And it was one of those things Kirk Herbstreit pointed out several times when we would have drop 3 backs. We'd drop 3 back. And it was one of those things that we kept creating pressure. There was nobody for Nico to throw to. And our defensive linemen were disrupting the backfield. They were getting back there. And a lot of it, too, it wasn't just straight on like plowing through. It was delayed. It was, Nico didn't have anywhere to go. He's used to just sitting in the pocket. I was shocked we didn't see him run as much last night. I felt like we would have. But it was, it was good to see. It set the tone early with Eric Gregory getting back there and getting 2 sacks in the first quarter. And, that was just one of this team. And I've said it before in previous shows, when this defense gets this cockiness and gets this swagger about them, they are dangerous. It's just keeping them in that mindset when something may not go your way. But it's one of those that the entire night, even when we got down 14-3, it was one of those that they weren't out of it. They weren't going to let themselves get out of it.
Yeah. And you were able to get 4 sacks last night against Tennessee. And look, I said it leading into this game. Nico and Taylor are the same quarterback. Both make mistakes. We've seen it where you had the Oklahoma game in hand and you turned the ball over. You gave them a chance to stay in the game. We knew that was going to be a problem for Tennessee coming into this game. We knew that. You look at Missouri going into Texas A&M. You think they're this team, and then they get hit in the mouth. Like Mike Tyson said, everybody's got a plan until you get hit in the mouth. Well, Arkansas hit them in the mouth, and they didn't know what to do. Then you throw 72,000 fans on top of that. That just it's hard to hear. What was it? The Auburn game. Very first play of the game, you get a delay a game penalty. So you think about what coming into Arkansas, coming into this environment, they just revived the whole atmosphere of how daunting this environment is. Road environment. We've talked so much crap about, the North Texases, the Western Kentuckys, the Liberties, coming into this and nobody's scared. I mean, hell, even Nick Saban said that every place is hard but Vandy. Look what happened. We're seeing a shift. We're seeing something happen, and I'm here for it. This is what I want college football to be. If NIL is involved, if the fact that the transfer portal is involved, and we're getting this craziness in October. We're in the first weekend in October, and we're seeing craziness. Just think what this is going to be like when it's crunch time, when you're battling for that 12th spot, that 10th spot. If you're on that border of, say, let's 8 through 12, you're on the borderline, and if that loss kicks you out and puts somebody else in, we're in for a very, very, very exciting end of football season. And the fact that we can even fathom saying that Arkansas can be there, because look, that win last night, and you go on a run and you beat LSU, you beat Ole Miss, Texas, or if you dropped at Texas but beat Missouri at the end of the year, and you're at 3 losses heading into this, an SEC team with 3 losses, and then you beat number 4 Tennessee, you beat a team like Ole Miss, you beat a team like LSU, but yet maybe you falter against Texas but beat Missouri. I mean, the ingredients are there for a special year. And I know a lot of the fans, they believe, but they're like, it won't happen because it's Arkansas. But I'm telling you, I can't wait to see the crowd. We talk about this environment against Tennessee. You got the most historic win you've had in forever, yet again against Texas. You had it against Tennessee. I had them in that game against LSU for the boot with the coming off a bye in Tennessee win. I think this could be one of the most anticipated games. And when you talk about the excitement level building off this win, and you pull that off and beat LSU back-to-back SEC wins, I don't know where you go from there.
Well, few people that were at the game last night. I mean, I was getting texts like, "Oh, there's a lot of orange here. Oh, there's this. Oh, there's," and it was one of those like even whenever they, the game was starting and they're showing the crowd. I mean, I saw a handful. Then of course your visitor section, and then I got a text that was just like, "Oh, they just announced a sellout," and I'm like, I'm waiting to see actual attendance because they announce sellouts all the time. But the game was the 6th largest crowd at Razorback Stadium, 75,573. And now, granted, I know it was the number 4 team in the nation. It's the second game of Fayetteville this season. I almost feel like coming into the LSU game, you're going to have a top 5 attendance in that because you're still going to be on the high from this Tennessee game. It's Battle of the Boot. It's going to be one of those that I think the environment is going to be that much more than we saw last night.
I would rival this environment that's about to happen with the Alabama game when Mallet was here.
Mm-hmm.
The Ronnie Wingo wheel route game. I'm telling you, and look, and this is coming off of, I worked for DirecTV in Fayetteville, and I witnessed what the environment was like during the 21 Texas game, and taking 50 minutes to drive up Razorback Road around the stadium, come back by Bogle Park and the soccer stadium. 45 minutes. That's how long it took me. Just because I wanted to see the environment. I wanted to see what it was all about. And this was Saturday morning at 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. We could see that. I would guarantee that we're going to have a top 5 crowd there. We're going to see people, instead of talking about, oh, there's going to be tickets taped on the concourse, there's going to be people looking for tickets. There's going to be people begging for tickets to this.
It's homecoming. You have Shaq that's going to be in Fayetteville the night before. I mean, there's a whole lot going on in Fayetteville that weekend. So I think the atmosphere is going to be, and you're getting closer and closer to Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's one of those, I just expect the festivities to be running rampant.
You got the Ole Miss LSU game next week, and LSU is having a 100-year celebration or something like that. I'm pulling up their schedule right now. And yes, celebrating 100 years of Tiger Stadium. So, I mean, you're thinking about that game, the environment that game's going to be, their emotions. What if they pull off the win? I mean, it's almost, and I think I'm going to ask this tomorrow. I mean, I know it might be too soon, or it might not even matter. But do you want LSU to win against Ole Miss, or do you want them to lose? I mean, it's because you got to think. I mean, you're going into this win. Arkansas is going to be on cloud 9. I think they're going to come in and having the week off. It's going to really see where, okay, is it Talon or is it Malachi? We're really going to get. I don't think we're going to get much information on any of this week. So fans that want to know, listen to the press conferences, or when we come to you Wednesday night, we'll give more of an update. But I just think where this team's at, I think this was the win that can change everything for your program. Because again, I can't stress enough, this was against a legitimate top 5 team. This wasn't a 6-6 team. This wasn't a bowl opt-out game. This was legit a team coming in that wants to make the 12-team playoff, and Heupel wanting to come in and prove that, okay, we see Georgia's down, we see Alabama's down. I want to be the next one up. We see Texas coming in and doing their thing. I want to be up there with Texas. And you lose that game, now you're right there with Missouri. You're still there kind of with Arkansas in a sense, unless Arkansas beats LSU, which they always play them tough. Look what they did against a Heisman Trophy quarterback. A lot of talk has been on Nussmeier, and I'm just not sold on him. They weren't sold on him before Daniels was the quarterback. But you got to throw the hype in there. You got to pump him up because that's your quarterback. But I don't see he is that great. I don't think he's any better than what we've seen. And you're giving T. Will a whole week to really study and look at film how they do against Ole Miss. That bodes very well with Arkansas. Plus, you're coming into Fayetteville, a night game, after them just coming off a Tennessee win, and they've had a week to – you talk about what's crazy. You're giving Arkansas fans an extra week to really relish in this win. Now you've got, of all opponents, LSU, who you want to beat, right? I would say right now, Missouri, then LSU, then Texas A&M, where I would put my top 3. But that's one of the top 3. You're not getting a Mississippi State team. You're not getting an Ole Miss team. You're getting LSU. I don't think that bodes very well for LSU coming into this game, and you're not the LSU that you used to be.
I think whatever LSU team comes in, you want them to have had a knockdown drag out with Ole Miss beforehand.
Oh, yeah.
Whether they win or lose, you want them to have left it all out on the field. And I know you want to play a team at their best. And who cares? All that matters is that the score at the end of the game, the record at the end of the season. I don't care if they're beat up, if they're tired, if they left it all out in the field the game before. Fact is, you still got to go in and play a game. So let them grind it out with Ole Miss and it just be a physical battle that, just leaves them hurt and defeated and whatever else. I'd let them limp into Fayetteville. I mean, that's how it is anymore.
Last year's game was 34-31 in Baton Rouge. And if we want to talk about last year to this year, we talked about that Auburn game and how Auburn embarrassed Arkansas, and look what happened. You don't have the Heisman Trophy quarterback. What offense do they have? They might still have a stellar defense. I'm looking at their schedule right now. Let's see. LSU 2024. You beat USC, beat Nicholls State. Your loss was against you lost to USC.
Mm-hmm.
You beat South Carolina, which that's one of them smoke screens where we thought South Carolina was decent, and then look what happened against Ole Miss. It's all going to come down to what teams are going to show up. But if I'm telling you, if this Arkansas team builds off of what they've done and they are ready for LSU to come into their stadium and they got that mentality that nobody's coming into Fayetteville and going to win, it's going to be tough for LSU to win this game.
Whatever doubts, and I don't think this is really on the players' minds, but as fans, a lot of the doubts that we've had, especially you and I, it's kind of out the window at this point. This was the game that we needed to see as fans, the turning point, the turnaround, because you're not the only one that has messaged me or said it here or whatever today. I had multiple messages from friends and fans that were just, this is the game we needed. This was the victory that we needed. Yeah. This was the turning point of whether it be the season, turning point for Sam Pittman, turning point for the program overall after years of below mediocrity that we've seen. This was the one that you needed to win. And we did it. And it's not just a top 10 victory or a top 15 victory. This was a top 5.
That brings me to the good point, because we're talking about questions. How validating would it be that Arkansas is truly back if they beat LSU next weekend? We're talking about the belief, but then you lay an egg. Now we're going to be right back in the same boat we were after the Texas A&M game. Man, you had us fooled. You had us this and that. And you laid an egg against a team that I think is not as good as Tennessee. But think about if Arkansas beats LSU with a bye week. You've had, I mean, off the high. Again, I bring up the Alabama Vandy situation, how you can get caught up in your emotions and you're not going into this game with full head of steam. You beat LSU next weekend. You talk about validation. Now you've got 2 SEC wins in a row with Mississippi State on the docket after that. You talk about confidence. I think that if you beat LSU next weekend, that's what's going to solidify that. I'm not saying Arkansas is going to run off and go undefeated the rest of the season to make the college football playoff. But look, what I'm saying is you're going to have that magical season like you did in 21. But there's going to be no COVID tied to it. There's going to be no COVID seniors tied to it. There's going to be no excuses. This is a legitimate year where you've beaten SEC teams that were good, top 10 teams. You got a good LSU team coming in. You're going to play against Ole Miss and Missouri. All that's going to do is start this instead of a downward spiral that we're used to, that you're used to. You're going to have this upward tick.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you look at, like you're talking about the games coming up the rest of the season, games we've already played, our 2 losses are against ranked opponents. Mm-hmm. So let's just say you go out and one reason I think you want LSU to beat Ole Miss too is from a ranking standpoint as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Because Ole Miss would drop, but they wouldn't drop out. And what is LSU? I didn't even see what they were ranked today after the new rankings came out. But they were flirting around 16th.
Yeah. Let me see if the AP poll come out 2 hours. Let's see. AP poll right here. And what's funny is I looked at the Bleacher Report in Arkansas's front page of the so you got wowzer. I knew it. Alabama 7th. You get beat by an unranked Vandy team, but you're still in the top 10. That goes everything of what I was saying. Georgia's 5th, Alabama 7th, Ole Miss is 9th, LSU is 13th.
So they wouldn't fall out of the top 25. But it's one of those that you're going to potentially stack up. And again, I'm not going to, anything could happen when you play Texas. Wholeheartedly agree and believe that. But you have several more ranked. You haven't gotten beat by a team that you should have beaten. You haven't lost to that unranked opponent that's just completely trash. So it's one of those, you control your destiny for the rest of the season. Win those games. If you are going to lose, just make sure it's a decent game against a ranked opponent. Just, don't have an embarrassing loss against an unranked team.
Yeah. And you look at this, and this is where you said you wanted LSU to win this game from a ranking standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to be the devil's advocate here. I want LSU to win it. Because if LSU wins the game, Ole Miss is going to drop from 9th to 13th, and LSU is going to drop probably or go up 13th to 10th, right? Ole Miss wins this game. LSU's sitting at 13. We're going to talk from a ranking standpoint. If LSU drops to Ole Miss, they're at 13. Where are they going to drop to?
17 to 20. Yeah.
So, but think about this resume. If you can beat, and I'm looking at if you can beat these teams, you beat LSU, that's probably going to be a top 10 team if they beat Ole Miss. Then you turn around and beat Ole Miss. You're looking at a better resume, opposed to if LSU comes into this game ranked, because you're looking right now, Missouri's ranked 21st. You have LSU come ranked at 17th, 18th, 19th. From a ranking standpoint and a resume I would kind of want it to be flip flopped, but I mean, either or. You win both games, you're going to be in the same boat.
Yeah, you
I
are.
was just doing that to play devil's advocate, but it's look at I'm just going to be quite honest. How crazy is we're even having this conversation? That there's a possibility you're looking at resumes, you're looking at, man, you want this team to win because it could put you in a better position if you run this course.
Mhm.
I mean, but they got to put it together. I mean, we'll talk more on that come up on Wednesday. It really gives us a couple of days to really, soak this in. We've got a bye week, so we're going to have 2 full shows of where we're really being able to take a step back, get off the high, and really dissect this LSU and the rest of the year coming. But I'm telling you, things are shaping up. You only got 2 losses. I don't know what, and again, we're going to see what Texas is before Texas comes to Fayetteville, but that's the only team on the rest of the schedule that we're unsure about.
I would definitely say too, from a fan standpoint, because I don't always watch other teams' games. It's one of those, if I don't have a vested interest, I typically don't care. But I will venture to say, that Ole Miss LSU game would be one to watch some of our upcoming opponents this coming weekend since Arkansas is not playing.
Yeah. And LSU, I'm looking at their schedule. They have Arkansas, which now is a legitimate opponent. Then they have A&M. Then they have a pissed off Alabama. Yeah, they got Florida, and then they got Vanderbilt and OU. That's who they got the rest of the season. So you're looking at this like we think we got it. I mean, they got a rough rest of the season ahead of them. So, we're looking at the nitty gritty. How's LSU going to take this game? A lot of it a lot of eyes are going to be on that Ole Miss LSU game on Saturday, but there's going to be a lot of other good games. I think they said this back in August, October 12th is one of the best slates that we've had in a long time outside of the playoffs and outside of bowl season.
It's definitely going to be an interesting few months actually.
But, we say that to say this. We want Razorback fans to enjoy this win, soak it up. You have to embrace this because I know this has been a roller coaster season. I know we've both been, well, I wouldn't say both been, me more so than Adam, up and down because we see what's happened and we're like, okay, look, let's get it together. All right, we see where we're at. Let's get excited, and then we get let down. Then we win a game, and then, all right, we're going to beat Texas A&M. Then you lose that. Turn around, beat Tennessee. That's why this game against LSU is very important that you win because, that puts another win, but it adds to that confidence because your next games coming up on the schedule, you have Mississippi State, but you still got a gauntlet of a schedule left. But you build that confidence and look at all the games you got. It's looking very well for when you look at this schedule and who you've got. You've only got really one big road game left, and that's at the very end of the season. You go to Mississippi State. I'm not going to sit here and say that Arkansas couldn't trip up and lose that game because anything can happen in the SEC. But the schedule's setting up for the build off of this win. You've got your defensive coordinator that's one of the best defensive coordinators in the country. You've got one of the best offensive coordinators in the country. You're giving Sam Pittman some cushion. Last night's win solidified that he's probably going to be here for another year. So why not? Let's make the best of it. Let's put together a special season to make something happen.
And hopefully by Wednesday we may know. I don't think we're going to know too much more on Talon, but time will tell. It's something that they don't need to rush to make the decision.
No.
We still got 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, you said it perfectly. You want to give him plenty of time, but due to this reporting, you can sit there and say this week he's out. You could sit here. You've got a full week to just be like, we don't know. Get him ready, and you've got a full week. You don't have to make a decision. We don't have the LSU game coming up on Saturday. And that's another thing that's very important for that goes in Arkansas's way. You've got a week to get him healthy. Not saying you don't have confidence in Malachi because he could turn things around. And that one drive right there and scoring that touchdown boosts his confidence. And now he's coming in as a solidified starter. If Talon can't go, which we've needed for years, and we've got it, I would go back to the Tyler Wilson days where he come in as a backup against Auburn. So we're looking up. People are starting to believe, and it's like, I want to build off of that. I want Razorbacks to win next Saturday because the fact that would send this crowd, this fan base into an all-time high that we haven't seen since 21. But I think you could get back to the early years of Bobby Petrino, and you're talking about the nostalgia. That's what he was brought back for. You get it back to that level, and give that validation on why you brought Bobby Petrino back, and you can keep him and T. Will and Sam Pittman together for years. You could build something special, and you could be on that national level. You could be in that elite status. If you keep this program together and these coaches together and they start recruiting on a high level, anything can happen with this program.
And last night was a great game to have recruits at. So
exactly.
Even on the basketball side, we have Malik Thomas there, 5-star, 2025, small forward or shooting guard, one or the other. For basketball, he was there with Darius Acuff. So these are games you want these guys at. These are environments you want these guys at.
Exactly. And that's another reason why that's important. Look, guys, we're just missing football, man. We know where we're at with our basketball program. Coach Cal, all the 5-stars. We know where we're at with Dave Van Horn and his recruiting classes. Yes, they got bounced out in regionals, but it's, where you're at with those programs, and all it does is trickle down to all the other programs that it's Arkansas. Arkansas football gets rolling, and they get to one of them. The programs that are considered for the 12-team playoff every year or just outside. This university is going to be on fire, and it's already starting. The flames started. Let's see if it catches.
We'll see what happens. I'm ready for it. I mean, like I said, these next few months are going to be crazy. So I think after we get this bye week out of the way, it's just going to be boom, boom, boom for us.
Well, before we go, a couple announcements. We've posted out a couple of times that we were nominated for the Sports Podcast of the Year by ArkansasPodcast.org. We have 2 categories, male-hosted podcast and Sports Podcast of the Year. Go to the link we have in our Facebook page to go vote. They will announce the winner on November 14th. And also at 8 o'clock, right after this show, you can catch Hog QH Live. Right after this, Adam in the group. Yeah, I butchered the hell out of that name.
That's cool.
I tried to play it off, but your eyebrows, I had to give in. But
show's on my face.
Show is coming up at 8. Catch the guys. And Adam, you got anything else before we wrap it up?
No, I'm good. And go watch some Sunday. Well, watch us next, and then watch Sunday Night Football.
There we go. Well, hey, we want to appreciate everybody who was in here. Appreciate all of our sponsors. Please go vote. I don't know when the voting exactly ends, but you can vote every day for that. But guys, appreciate y'all joining in. It's a great day to be a Razorback, and we want to keep it rolling. But come back at 8 o'clock, catch the guys, and we'll be right back to you on Wednesday.